Welcome back to the Career Growth Podcast. I'm your host, Kalis, and today we're going to be talking about what goes on behind the scenes in the recruiter's mind when they are picking out the ideal candidate. So far, we've mostly just spoken about what candidates can do to improve their CV or when they're going, into an interview. So we've discussed a lot of these before. And that's, I guess, the superficial part. So we want to push past that and we want to explore what goes on in the mind of a recruiter. And now we have somebody very special here today to actually give us a very unique insight into what goes on in your mind when you're picking out a recruiter. So to clarify, we have Caroline Cooke with us from Cornhill Consultancy. She's managing director and founder. So, just to build some context, Caroline, first of all, it's so lovely to have you here with us today. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know it's been hectic. Really appreciate it. But it would be really cool if you could give our audience a little context as to what Cornhill Consultancy does and what really, makes you unique.
Sure. So thank you for your time, first of all. A little intro into me and Cornhill Consultancy and what makes us unique. I've been in executive search and recruitment for 23 years, which is pretty scary. I started at Leader Financial Research. The founder was ex-Corn Ferry, and I worked in London and Hong Kong. I've worked at Sheffield Haworth, which is one of the top global boutiques. I've worked at Corn Ferry as an associate for the European Head of Financial Services, and then I set up and ran the entire internal recruitment function for them. I then moved to Great Fleet, which was a contingent recruitment company, much faster paced. I set up the internal recruitment function for them. And then in 2008, I combined all of my knowledge, the executive search, the fast paced contingent, the internal recruitment, and I set up Cornhill Consultancy in a recession. What makes us unique, I'd say what differentiates us from other rec-to-rec companies is that we work exactly like an executive search service. We are perfectionists, the written profiles, the spelling, the grammar, everything that we do is exactly the same as a top 5 executive search firm. So, we create long lists, we create short lists, we do everything as an executive search service. So we don't advertise, we don't use job boards, we purely headhunt. So that's what I think differentiates us from other rec-to-rec firms.
And you said scary, I'd say impressive and scary. That is a vast, array of knowledge that you've accumulated. And I am really interested in knowing a little bit more about, as a rec-to-rec agency, specializing in matching experienced recruiters with suitable vacancies, what criteria you and Cornhill Consultancy look to and prioritize when you're selecting the ideal recruiter for positions in the industry?
So I think that a lot of our clients do look for a degree, but it's not absolutely necessary. A stable CV is really important. Our clients love a stable CV. So if you've got a CV that's jumping every 6 months from job to job or every 12 months, they don't like that. They also like diverse candidates as well. So it's just about us finding, the best candidates for our clients that we know they're going to like, really good quality candidates.
You've also been called one of London's leading, if not the leading, rec-to-rec headhunter.
Yeah.
So you've undoubtedly encountered a diverse array of candidates. So what are the most common qualities or skills that successful candidates possess? What sets them apart? What sets the exceptional ones apart from the rest? And how can individuals stand out in a crowded job market? What can they learn from this?
So I'd say that you need to be a people person to be a recruiter. So if you're naturally a people person, you're going to stand out to me. Your personality is going to stand out to me, and therefore it's going to stand out to our client. You obviously need to be hardworking. In recruitment, you have to be tenacious. It's a roller coaster. We also look for people who are organised, curious, entrepreneurial. Those types of candidates stand out to me. Also, I would add to that actually, I'm looking for people who have extra. They don't just have a work history, they've got something extra. Maybe they're into competitive sports, maybe they've got Duke of Edinburgh Award, maybe they've climbed Mount Everest, maybe they've rowed for England, maybe, there's loads of different things. Maybe they do volunteering. So it's the things outside of work that also create that sort of really well-rounded person that our clients like.
I was actually about to ask you what your trick was to recognizing potential beyond what's on paper, aka their CVs. But as you mentioned, what people do in their free time,
Mm,
what their hobbies are, how they spend their leisure, it all informs us about what kind of person they are, and that does give us a lot more insight than we traditionally get just from seeing what their skills, their education, their
mm.
qualifications are on paper. But are there other ways that a candidate can stand out to you beyond just their CV?
I think that um, the way that they approach me. So what I mean by that is be proactive. So if you message me on LinkedIn and you don't get a reply, why not email me? Why not pick up the phone and call me? Follow up the LinkedIn request, like one of my posts on LinkedIn, just so that you're getting noticed. And that is exactly the same. I think when people are searching for a job, you need to stand out in the marketplace. So that's what I would say about that.
Yeah. Uh, what line do you think you would draw in terms of reaching out if they don't receive an answer? Because I do know, like, I guess from experience, we've seen candidates reach out to like five or six
Mm,
different team members in order to get our attention.
mm.
It's the effort, we recognize it, but is there a limit? What should you not do? What should you not cross?
I
Just as a warning.
I think for me in my headhunting life, my saying to myself is never give up. I don't stop until I get an answer. So I'll be asking someone to connect on LinkedIn. We'll be sending them an email. We'll be following up with a video email. Um, you know, I do everything I can until I get an answer from that person. I'm not necessarily hounding different people in a team. If it's a potential client or a potential candidate, I'm just going for that, for the person that I want. So if it's in terms of a job, just go for the one person and just keep going. And I think perseverance pays off. That you might annoy them, but the right person will appreciate it.
The right person will, and I think that's someone you'd like to work under and learn from as
Yeah,
well. Someone who actually appreciates the effort that you put in,
yeah.
even if they do get annoyed. I guess we can't really fault them for that. We really can't. But speaking of actually, not the correct word would just be like reaching out to, not harassing. I was about to be like, speaking of harassing recruiters. So a lot of people have been complaining online that it's getting harder and harder to find full-time roles
Mhm,
today. Not that it's harder to find jobs,
mhm,
but full-time roles in particular. People are like, oh, there are these remote opportunities or part-time opportunities,
mhm,
20 hours a week, 15 hours a week, and that's becoming more common even for
mhm,
certain niches or industries that usually are full of full-time roles,
mhm,
in office roles. So this one person had posted on Reddit that titled "Anyone else finding it hard to get a full-time job?" Yes, there are many places hiring. Most of the full time jobs being advertised are for degrees or management roles. I truly just want a 40-hour week flipping burgers or some beep while I save for my next endeavors in life. However, anywhere that's hiring, requiring little experience, is a casual, less than 20 hours per week job that wants you to have 24/7 availability. I'm not going to afford rent and food with a tiny paycheck like that. So, what are your thoughts on this story? And do you have any observations you'd like to, add to it?
I think that obviously post COVID, the world changed a lot. And, well, during COVID, the world changed a lot and everybody started remote working. And this is where it all came from. And then after COVID, the hybrid working started. So people are in the office, 2 to 3 days a week, and they're at home the rest of the time. And now there is a move, especially in the city, of trying to get people back to their desks more. And there's definitely resistance from some people. So what I would say, I in the world that I'm in, I do not see what this person is talking about, because in my world in recruitment, they only want you full time, 40 hours a week. So it's the opposite problem that we have. It's actually the opposite. There are people now who are wanting remote working, hybrid working, working less days a week, flexible hours, and that's quite hard in recruitment. The recruitment owners want their pound of flesh. They want you there the 5 days a week, preferably, four of them, three or four of them in the office. So, yeah, I think that person is having a different experience to what we have in recruitment.
Right. It's interesting that most recruitment roles, if not all, are full time and also in office.
Mhm.
But do you think it's because of the very nature of recruitment that this is a requirement? Do you think that there's room for flexibility?
I think I agree with both parts of it. I think that if you're a junior, and you need to learn through osmosis. You need to be in the office, learning from the partners, learning from the people around you. How are you going to learn your trade if you're working from home 5 days a week or 4 days a week? So I think for juniors, it's especially important to go into the office. I think for people who've been working for as long as I have, then why on earth would you not allow them to work from home 2 or 3 days a week? Because at home, you're far, far more focused. You get a lot more done. You cut out the commuting time. So there's loads and loads of benefits. I work from home. I live in Spain. I think you know that. So I've been living in
Yeah.
Spain for 4.5 years. I work completely remotely. I'd say that I'm far, far happier, far more focused, and I actually make more money working 100% remotely. So I'm actually kind of for and against the remote working situation. That's my opinion on it.
A balanced perspective,
Yeah,
considering
yeah,
all
yeah.
odds. Yeah, I
Considering
think that's fair.
yeah, considering junior people and senior people, I think there are different needs for the different levels of seniority in recruitment.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you as well because I do recall what it was like to be new to my role and how difficult it would have been to learn it while isolated.
Mm,
It was a lot easier to pick things up from, like when you're in office working with a team, especially, depending on what your role is
mm,
and what industry you're in. Like I'm a creative,
mhm,
and I really had to do all the hands-on stuff.
mm.
So I had to go for, to site. We had site visits, we had these shoot plannings, all these things that you learn from actually being around your coworkers.
Yeah.
So I do understand that completely.
Mm.
And if not for these full-time role trend, if not for this full-time role trend, what other trends have you actually noticed within your sphere? And what changes do you believe will have the most profound impact on candidates seeking roles?
I think in the most recent years, the two biggest changes are the hybrid working and diversity. The city was, when I started in the city, it was full of uh, white males who went to private school. And it's been really, really great over the last, I'd say it's really picked up over the last 5 years or so. Been really amazing to see that change. And I'm actually doing a course in diversity and inclusion because it's really we love introducing diverse candidates to our clients. So, be that female, be that mums who are returning to work, be that ethnic diversity, whatever it is, I think it's just really, really important to get, more diverse candidates in general. from underrepresented groups into these roles. My course is super interesting. If you look at the opportunities that somebody has when they're accepted versus the opportunities that somebody won't have just because they're not accepted because of the color of their skin, for example, they will lead a completely different life to somebody who has exactly the same qualifications, but who is accepted. So it's really interesting. I love doing my course.
I'm really glad that that you're so passionate about this because it is the future. I mean, we are not working in silos. The world is getting more and more interconnected with each passing day. So I guess having diverse perspectives is really helpful.
Mm,
And new problems will arise,
yeah.
and we'll need new solutions. And the best way to get there, as they say, is have as many different heads in the mix as possible.
Exactly.
So
Different skill sets as well. Everybody brings different skill sets to the table. So I think it's really important to have, representatives from lots of different areas and groups in life.
yeah, absolutely. And previously, we were talking about the difference between a junior and senior roles, and whether they should be having that flexibility to work from home, or whether they could, whether they need to be in office to learn at the optimal rate.
Mm,
So, funnily enough, the next Reddit story I'm going to share with you is about a person who was wondering whether they should aim for a junior role
mm,
despite being
mm.
overqualified. So,
I love this one.
I've been here before. So they say can't find a job 6 months after being laid off. Should I apply for more junior positions? I'm a senior engineer who was laid off half a year ago. I've applied to countless jobs and had over a dozen interviews that went nowhere. I've never been unemployed for this long before, and I'm really starting to lose hope. Would it make sense to down level myself and apply to more junior or entry level positions? Would recruiters and hiring managers even take my resume seriously? Would someone with 7 years of experience applying to an entry level position be a red flag? I honestly just need to start earning a paycheck again and would be fine with anything. Anyone here been in a similar situation? I have. I'm willing to share right after this, but they also would like to know if you got any tips on redoing their resume to target more junior positions, if you're willing to share.
Uh,
So, what are your thoughts on
my
this?
thoughts are, should you go for more junior positions? My thoughts are no, never. You know, you have standards, stick to them. Don't lower your standards for anybody or any job. Use the skills that I was talking about earlier. So create a long list of companies to target and find the correct person on LinkedIn and connect to them on LinkedIn. Send them an email with your resume. Like a post of theirs on LinkedIn. And if they don't reply, don't give up. Pick the phone up, call them, and if you can't get through, send a follow-up email, send a little video message. You can, if you're persistent enough and tenacious enough, and you run your search like a recruitment campaign, just making notes of who hasn't replied, who you need to follow up with, etc., etc., you will get a job at the right level. It's just about believing in yourself. And there's a lot of talent acquisition people out of work at the moment. Last year was the toughest year since I've had my business. There are some talent acquisition people out of work since July last year, and you see them on LinkedIn posting and saying, please, can somebody help me? And there was one the other day, he finally got a job. He's just been networking, and LinkedIn is a very powerful tool. So I would say never undersell yourself. Never go for a job like below yourself. I'm kind of slightly hypocritical because it happened to me. And to show you how old I actually am now, I was in the office working at Sheffield Howarth and 11/11 happened. We were all sent home. We were all told to walk home. We weren't allowed to get on the tube because of, potential terror threats or bombs. Went home. The markets completely crashed. All six associates at Sheffield Howarth were made redundant in November 2011, me included. And I, rather than going for a job that was below me in the markets that I was in, I actually took myself out the industry completely for a year. I actually went and ran a fashion shop on the King's Road and went to London Fashion Week and was the manageress, and I really, really enjoyed it. And then I waited for the markets to pick up and I came back in a year later. So, I've just given all this advice, but if it's really, really bad, like if it's a major recession like we were in, no associates could find work, then you have to do what you have to do, right? So I've kind of given all this advice, but then I've actually said, me personally, I actually left the industry for a year. So yeah, take my advice with a pinch of salt. It's up to you, but everyone obviously needs a job, but I think that you should just do absolutely everything in your power to get the job that you want, and don't go for a job lower than your level. If you're persistent enough and tenacious enough, you will have success. Never give up.
That's a really good mentality to have because I think many different industries experienced really bad slumps over the years, just maybe not overlapping slumps, but it is a bit concerning if you've been unable to find and secure work for many many months. It's
Yeah.
of course anxiety inducing. You got to pay the bills, you got to keep the lights on, so you have to do what you have to do. And I don't think there's any shame in having to take some time away. I don't think
No.
that is a concern here. It's just that, do you think that, even with parents, new parents, if they take enough, like they want to take some time out of, their work year to look after their baby, they come back, suddenly either been made redundant or they feel like they have to catch up and that they're running behind. So is that a concern that if they do take that time off, how do they, catch up with everyone
It's
else?
it, it's again, it's a really interesting question, and it's something that is changing slowly and needs to change. When women have taken a year off on maternity leave and they try to come back into work, nobody wants them, nobody wants to hire them. Or when a mum has taken 5 years off to bring up her two young children and she tries to come back in the market, nobody wants her. And I think it's disgusting. They still have the skill set, so why are they not being given the opportunity? Some of these mums are incredible. They have to work hard to provide for their family. So there's a lot of discrimination going on, and I do believe it's changing slowly. So yeah, I think anybody who has a gap in their CV, it's always difficult. I went traveling, or I was caring for my sick mum, or I was bringing up a family. Employers don't like it, but it shouldn't be a problem. What are you going to do? You're going to work from, when, let's say you went to university, you're going to work from 21 years old until, 60, with no break. No, you're never going to take a year off. How is that possible? Everybody needs time off, like a sabbatical. So I'm a firm believer of giving people with breaks on their CV as much chance as someone who just has a solid work history.
And what do you think they can do in order to, sort of buff up that CV a little
Yeah,
bit,
sorry.
to kind of distract from the gap?
Right, yeah, it's interesting because the gap is like glaring. So, I mean, the perfect CV is 2 pages long, and it's not overcomplicated. It's just quite simple. It's a personal profile at the top. Um, Achievements. I love seeing achievements at the top of a CV. What someone achieved in their career history, or you can put it within the jobs themselves, but always put the achievements at the top. Uh, and then obviously education, and then career history and interests at the bottom. So it doesn't need to be a long CV. in terms of a gap in your CV, you can't really hide it. So it's there. You're not going to lie about it. Never lie on a CV. You just need to be upfront, and when you're in the interview, just explain that you are as hardworking, if not more hardworking than other people, and just to give you a chance. Just sell yourself. If you're a recruiter, you've got to be able to sell yourself.
Yes, that would definitely be one of the founding rules, one of the founding principles. And I'm guessing that you've also experienced your fair share of up and downs in your career journey as well. Because when we last spoke, you did, go into a little bit more detail about what it was like setting up Cornhill
Mm,
Consultancy and what you went through.
mm,
So, again, like the biggest thing I took away from your story was your tenacity. And we've mentioned countless times during this podcast that that is a vital quality to have.
mm.
So, could you share with us what kept you going during the toughest moments, and how did you maintain your resolve and
Yeah.
overcome your challenges?
I've said it. I've said it already, but never give up. I have an extremely strong work ethic, and I have a never give up attitude. It doesn't matter what happens to me. I just never give up. If something really bad happens, I might say to myself, okay, I'm giving myself the weekend to feel sad, the weekend to process it, the weekend to grieve it. But I tell myself on Monday morning, I'm back. I'm going for it again. So
Yeah.
I would, yeah, I mean, I've failed, hundreds of times in my life, in my personal life and professional life. And that's what makes me successful is the failures, because each time you get back up, you grow more strength. So
That is
yeah, don't
really
be
good.
scared of
Yeah, that's a
failure.
good
I would say
advice.
don't be scared of failure. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good mindset to have. I think just on a more relatable level, it's perfectly fine to have the fear. It's just like, I guess, don't let the fear stop you.
Right.
Okay, so
There's
people,
a saying, isn't there? Um, Something like have the fear and do it anyway. I can't remember what the
yeah,
exact saying is, but
yeah,
fear is a fantasy. Fear is in the future. If you're living in the present and you're just living in the present today, you got nothing to fear. So if you're worried about you're not going to be able to get a job or whatever it may be, but today you can do something about it and you can live your best life today, and put your all in today. And today's all that matters. You might not be here tomorrow. I mean, God forbid, but you might not be here tomorrow. So just make the most of today, and don't fear the future, because as I say, it's a fantasy. It doesn't exist.
that is really beautifully put. It's poetic. It's
Poetic.
poetic and inspirational. This is definitely going to be cut and promoted on TikTok. 100%. That's the bit. Oh, so as important as it is to evaluate candidates, I do also think that we could give them some insights into how they could evaluate opportunities. It is a two-way street.
Yeah.
And if they want to progress in their careers, candidates should, consider a few
Mm.
things when they're evaluating opportunities and before they decide which to pursue. So, do you have any tips on what to look out for?
Yeah, I would say look on Glassdoor, because Glassdoor has reviews of companies. And if there's, 100 reviews and 99 of them say, it's really long hours and you get zero work-life balance, then maybe that's not the company you personally want to work for, unless you love long hours. uh, I'd say look at the people who work for the company on LinkedIn. So find the company on LinkedIn, find the employees. Let's say you're looking for a job in London, find the employees in London and go through them. What you'll find on a lot of companies on LinkedIn is some of the people don't exist. So there might be a company of 35 people, but when you go into each person's profile, first of all, if they don't have a photo, and they have under 100 connections, it's highly likely that person doesn't exist. They're not at that company anymore. So you
Yeah,
can evaluate a company that starts at 35 people in London. You can end up finding out that 8 people work in the London office. Why are there only 8 people? What's happened to all of the other people? Well, that means that company has quite high attrition. To me, that's a red flag. You want a nice stable company that isn't firing people and making people redundant, and that's successful. Look on Companies House, and you can find out how much money that company made in their last financial years. You can see if they're a successful company or not. Um, and if you do get an interview, don't be afraid to ask questions yourself. An interview is a two-way street. It's not like someone's just grilling you and you're sat there terrified. Have a list of questions ready to ask them. Why should I work for your company and not one of your competitors? Why did you join this company? Things like that. And yeah, find some common ground with them. Maybe you went to the same university. Like, do some digging, do some research on the person that you're going to have an interview with. Look on their LinkedIn profile, look on their profile on the company website. They might often have their interests on the company website. They might like dogs, and I would be like, oh my God, I've got 3 rescue dogs. What dogs have you got? Find some common
Right.
ground,
Yeah.
become that person's friend, then they will respect you. Ask them some questions as well. So it's about putting your best foot forward, I think, in interviews. So lots of different things you can do to make sure that the company is stable, financially stable, has a good culture, which is really important, and do your
Likes dogs, also important.
yeah, of course. I mean, that's like the utmost importance. And do your due diligence. It's not You're not desperate. You're not just grabbing the first opportunity that's presented to you. You're going through a process. You're going to be offered multiple offers, and you're going to sit and you're in the position of power, and you're going to choose the opportunity that you want.
Absolutely. And candidates should really be more aware of their value as well, because there's far too many times I've had to talk people down from taking on job opportunities that are really below their level. They
Right.
should be earning more, they should be doing something bigger than this.
Right.
And it's very hard to talk them down if they don't have any belief in their own abilities and their skills. But it's really important to have that confidence and understand where you are at.
I was just going to say, I think that in that case, somebody needs to work on themselves. It's about doing the work on yourself. It's about doing the work on your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-respect, your dignity, everything. You are a powerful person. You're the best person for this job. You're not going around scrabbling around taking a little job that's below you. You need to work on yourself and be the powerhouse that you are.
Absolutely, 100%. So, to be a powerhouse, though, in a particular, to be a powerhouse, there's quite a few steps to get there. But I guess you have to start off with identifying your interests and your strengths and see if it aligns with the career opportunity that you have in hand. So,
Right.
how would you recommend that candidates identify and analyze their strengths and interests?
So for recruitment, as I mentioned earlier, you need to be a people person. I think a good way to find out your strengths is to go and ask your family and friends. I asked my best friend recently what my strengths are as a person. And she came back, with a great list of strengths, and I was like, wow, that's amazing. I wouldn't have known. It's also really good for your ego. So go and ask your friends and family what your strengths are, and think about which career is right for you. If you're in recruitment, as I said earlier, you need to be tenacious. You need to never give up. So you just need to find the career that's right for you. If you're a shrinking violet and you're scared to talk on the phone and you're scared to have a conversation like this, then recruitment isn't for you, for example.
And that might sound harsh, but I guess in the long term, it's beneficial. You really need to get honest with yourself and ask yourself a few
Mm,
questions. Just sort of really place this opportunity laid bare and take a step back and see, do I really think I can do this? Because I just wanted a bit of a personal story, but I could just add this in there. There have been times when I've really, really wanted a role, really wanted a role, but I just knew that this is not the kind of thing I could do long term. But I had myself convinced for a bit that if I did apply, I could really work my way into that role.
mm,
And I think I don't know, being a dreamer is kind of where I'm at. but I feel like that gives you the right amount of, push, a little bit of a push to at least,
Well,
aim for the stars, hit the stratosphere.
right. There's yeah. What is it? Aim for the moon, and if you miss, you hit the stars on the way down. So I mean, still pretty good, right? And I think it's Walt Disney. Walt Disney says, if you can dream it, you can do it. So
Yeah.
right. So you can put it into reality. So I think in terms of the jobs that suit different people, you can do a psychometric test. There's disc profiling that we use, and if you're in the yellow or the red, then you're a really great salesperson or a really great leader. If you're in the blue or the green, you're probably better off in accountancy or something like that. So you need to work out, what skill set you have, what strengths you have, and find the right career for you.
Yeah. And is there a way for our audience to actually go online and do this for free? Is this a test that they could take
Yeah,
themselves?
there's tons and tons of disc profiles online for free. We use one that we pay for because it's much better.
Right.
I think it's under £100, but it's honestly, I would say it's really worth the investment because it gives you pages and pages about your personality profile and what you're like in a work environment. For example, I love risks. I like taking risks. If my brother did it, for example, he would be completely the opposite to me. So there are lots of different people in the world, and I think it's really
Yeah.
important to find out who you are so you can be applying to the
Absolutely.
right kinds of
Yes.
jobs.
Yes. And that brings us to the end of our podcast. And as usual, we wrap up with a piece of unconventional advice. Caroline, do you have any unconventional advice for us
I'm
today?
full of unconventional advice.
Oh, please.
I would say my latest one and my favorite one is manifesting. So if you want to manifest your dream job, for the 5 minutes before you go to sleep every night, you just lie there and you say, "I am working in my dream job. I am working in my dream job." Like you're doing it, like present tense. You repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. You imagine it for 5 minutes. You fall asleep. That line is in your subconscious for 8 hours. And that's going to become a reality because it's just been repeating all night in your subconscious. That's my answer.
That is unconventional, and I'm definitely going to give it a try. Not that I need to, I already am working my dream job.
Good.
Please don't fire me.
But you can try it on anything.
But
You can do it for anything. You can do it for money, love, health, whatever.
I'm going to
Good.
manifest all of
Good.
that simultaneously. Thank you so much for joining us. It was such a pleasure having you here with us. And I hope that the audience also really enjoyed this conversation. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please do reach out. We're always listening because we really want to have these conversations too. You just need to let us know, and we're more than happy to comply. Check us out on LinkedIn, TikTok, and of course Instagram and Pinterest. And of course, last bit I need to add is go check out our blogs. We've got tons and tons of resources there that are super helpful, and I do put a bit of work into that, so I would appreciate a few readers.
Mhm.
And thank you once again, Caroline. It has been such a pleasure, and I'll see everyone next week.
Thank you.